Oh, yeah. I had to say that one. How many years the actual professional type now? No, can't.
The February 23rd meeting of the Carter County Commission is now in session. I respectfully request that everyone in the courtroom turn off their cell phones at this time. Also, commissioners, do not use your phone for texting during the meeting. A lot of folks have complained that it's distracting and takes away from the order of the day, so please refrain from texting during the meeting. Focus on the issues at hand. Also, commissioners, if you wish to speak at any time during this meeting, please stand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Only one person will be recognized to speak at any given time. Any discussion must pertain to the motion that's under consideration. Going off on irrelevant topics would not be in order. Thorough debate of the issues is always encouraged. However, personal attacks will not be tolerated. During Commissioner comments section, motions to adjourn will not be recognized until the chair is satisfied that all commissioners who wish to speak have been given that opportunity. Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Buford Peters.
Here.
Willie Campbell.
Here.
Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Here. Mike Hill.
Here.
Alvin Mann. Beth Pugh. Ronnie Tribbett.
Here.
Charles Montana. Elsie Tester.
Here.
Isaiah Brightstaff.
Here.
Danny Ward.
Here.
Ross Garland.
Here.
Timothy Hogan.
Here.
Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Here.
Larry Miller.
Here.
John Lewis.
Here.
Ray Lyons.
Here.
Sonia Culler. Present. Scott Simmerly. Cody McQueen.
Here.
Robert Carroll.
Here.
Robert Goff.
Here.
20 present.
20 present, quorum present. At this time, I'd ask that everyone please stand for the opening prayer, which will be led by Commissioner Campbell. And if you would please, after that, remain standing for the pledge, which will be led by Commissioner Tripp.
Dear Heavenly Father God, as we bow our heads, Lord, we want to give you honor and praise for this day that you've given us. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for another opportunity, God, to put our feet to the floor, Lord. Lord, we do pray tonight, God, for each one, Lord, that sits on this board. God, we pray, Lord, that we seek your wisdom, your knowledge, Lord, and your understanding, God, of what we're doing. Lord, tonight we do pray, God, know your word says in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, and seek your face and turn from their wicked ways, Lord, that you would heal their land. Lord, tonight our land needs so much healing, God. Lord, tonight we do pray from the bottom of our hearts, Lord, for those that are lost and undone. God, we pray, Lord, that they'll come to know you before it's ever lasted too late. God, we pray, Lord, that you'll use each one of us, Lord, to guide this country, Lord, in the right way. God, we ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
At this time, I would ask for all elected and appointed officials and other guests that are with us tonight to please stand to be recognized. Thank you. We appreciate your service. This time, we will have public comments. Is there anyone in the audience or gallery that would like to address the commission? Mr. Livingston, if you would please state your full name, and you're welcome to go ahead and address the commission. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Roy Livingston from Hampton. Ladies and gentlemen, this will just be short and sweet, but this kind of bring you up to date with what's going on. Just to let you all know that the Citizens in Action is proceeding with the process in an attempt to correct what appears to be illegal activity in the 14-15 budget process. Thank you very much. Have a good week. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move on down the agenda. To promote the quality of leadership necessary to carry our mountain region through and beyond the 21st century, visionary Louis H. Gump, a longtime friend of ETSU, initiated the idea and helped to establish the Roan Scholars Leadership Program on the university campus. The innovative program draws its inspiration from Roan Mountain, the highest peak in the area, a motivational site and symbol of the strength, character, and idealism of the region's people. A 4-year leadership curriculum, including carefully selected real-world experiences, offers development opportunities to students who show great potential in the areas of character, leadership, intellectual curiosity, and physical vigor. Mentors, community leaders, peers, and the program staff support students in developing their skill levels and confidence. By taking advantage of the opportunities and experiences, graduates who successfully complete the Roan Scholars Program are prepared to become engaged leaders in their chosen fields, as well as their communities at large. The Roan mission: to build enlightened, productive, responsible individuals with integrity who are positively involved in their community. Each year, schools throughout East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and Western North Carolina nominate candidates for this prestigious scholarship program. East Tennessee State University recently announced the 5 outstanding students that were chosen to begin the program this fall. One of these was Carter County's Joe Wesley Oliver, the son of Kelly and Betsy Oliver of Elizabeth. I'm happy to say that Joe is the product of the Carter County school system, more specifically, Unaka Elementary and Unaka High School. He has maintained an outstanding 4.0 grade point average throughout his academic career. He is currently the vice president of his senior class, as well as captain of the Rangers football team, and has been voted Mr. Unaka by his teachers. Joe is a member of the National Honor Society, the Key Club, and the Future Business Leaders of America. He was also a member of the Carter County Chamber of Commerce Youth Leadership Program, a current member of the Carter County Clean Teens, and has volunteered with the American Red Cross. Joe is currently preparing for the Tennessee Science Bowl and participated in the Pro 2 Serve math competition in Knoxville this past fall. Joe plans to use the Roan Scholarship to get his undergraduates in biology and chemistry, and then pursue a career in medicine or genetics. Please help me welcome Mr. Joe Oliver. Joe, we're extremely proud of you, and this is just a small token of our appreciation. We wish you the very best in your professional and educational pursuits.
Thank you so much. I would just like to say I thank you all, of course, especially the mayor, for this award. And I am very blessed to have the school system that I am in. And I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for helping me with my interview process. And I'm very fortunate to have great parents. Thank you all.
Joe's parents are with him as well tonight, so let's give them a hand before they Last week was an extremely challenging week. The only time that I can recall 4 years that the Carter County Courthouse was closed 2 days in the same week. Usually it wouldn't happen 2 days a year. And the road superintendent back there was extremely busy each and every day, working hard to clear the roads and 7, 12 hours a day. I mean, just nonstop, and we appreciate that. But there's several items as a result of not having a meeting last week and the things happening before we get the packet together that we placed in front of you tonight on your table. You'll find a magazine, Living Well in Tennessee, called Thrive. Also, a fact book that was provided by Senator Rusty Crowe. He wanted each of you to have one of those. Mr. Loach has placed on the table for you tonight also some items, information from the Tennessee Department of Revenue. We have the Carter County Highway Committee meeting minutes. There's also the bid tabulation sheet, which we'll address later on the parking lot, along with an invoice from the Carter County Highway Department for the work that they've done that will be addressed later. You also have a letter from Senator Rusty Crowe, and on one side and on the back side of that, a notice of a public hearing for changing of a road name. There's also a list of counties within the state of Tennessee that currently use the Roll Call Pro system. There's 14 of them. It's my understanding from talking to the representative of Roll Call Pro that Washington County is close to coming on board, and so is Jefferson, so that would be 16 counties. And then you have an item that we pre-printed and had put in the packets, or ready to put in the packets, but we've since emailed the Friends of Sycamore Shoals State Historic Area with their appeal, and that's sort of time sensitive as we outlined in the email. So if you would please review that, and if you can help those folks by contacting your state representatives and senators, please do so. At this point in time, we'll address the minutes. You've had a packet, a copy of that in your packet, and I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Mr. Von Cannon.
Accept the minutes.
Got a motion by Mr. Charles Von Cannon, second by Mr. Lewis.
No errors.
No errors. He's elated, so that's great. Congratulations. Any discussion on the minutes? Not seeing anyone wishing to discuss, Madam Clerk, you would please call the roll.
Buford Peters. Billy Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Beth Depew. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstead.
Aye.
Danny Moore.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Holden.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item will be notaries and bonds. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notaries and bonds?
Shirley Williams, Leslie Sharp, Brandy L. Riddle, Keith Bowers Jr., William B. Pressler, Ruth H. Bowers, David Wortman, Teresa D. Hagler, Tricia Christine Paul, Judy R. Zinnemann, Michael Tripper, Trevor K. McKinney, Linda Laughlin, Sonia W. Fuller, Christopher A. Schutler, Thomas E. Whitehead, Tammy Robin Adams, Milton Howard Mathers, and Robert H. Norris.
Do I hear a motion to accept the notaries bonds? Motion made by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Ward. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Betty Depew. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstead.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Holden.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
20 ayes.
20 ayes, motion passes. This time, I've asked the county clerk, Mr. Harden, to read the first resolution, the THDA Home Program Resolution.
This is a resolution to approve the policies and procedures for utilization of the grant funds received from the Tennessee Housing Development Agency Home Program. Whereas the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee previously authorized the county mayor to apply for grant funds in recognition of the need for housing rehabilitation for low-income residents living within the county. And whereas Carter County has received funding in the amount of $500,000 for the home program administered by the Tennessee Housing Development Agency to provide housing rehabilitation for low and very low-income persons. Whereas the Carter County Commission understands that in order to comply with the applicable state and federal laws, it must approve certain policies and procedures for utilization of the grant funds to ensure equitable and consistent housing rehabilitation services are provided. And whereas the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee desires to utilize the home program grant funds to provide housing rehabilitation services to eligible residents within the county in a legal, equitable, and consistent manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this the 23rd day of February 2015, with a lawful quorum of said commission being present, with the majority voting in the affirmative, that the County Commission hereby approves the policies and procedures in the document attached to this resolution entitled Carter County 2012 Home Program Policies and Procedures. Be it further resolved that the County Commission also hereby authorizes the 1st Tennessee Development District to provide administrative services in the manner recorded in said policies. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect from and after the date of its approval, the welfare of the county demanded.
With that, the chair will entertain a motion for the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adopt this resolution.
Yes. I have a motion made by Mr. Trivett, second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Mayor, in the past, I have had different experiences with this agency, and I hate to say, I know they get no hanky out of them. What the law says, now, if you take over here, it says on number 7, lead-based paint. And Now, they got a rider on that if you can put windows and stuff in the house, it's not going to make paint on it. But if you call the director in Kingsport, they deny it. And I've got a copy of it, they sent me nicer. But now, my only complaint is, been dealing with them, you not got much resources to fall back on. Now, I'm hoping, we've got Mr. Mayor and Mr. Von Cannon, and I think Mr. Clark on that board. Now, I'm hoping that they'll keep a better check on the money, and if the people is getting discriminated against, this money's gonna go where it's supposed to, other than this not doing nothing. And that is my experience in the past, that you can't get no, you go to the, I've gone to the county mayor, no response. You go to Nashville, no response. Who do we turn to? If we don't keep turning to board members, and they need to keep a better, what I'm trying to say is, they need to keep a better call on where the money's going to. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your comments. Just one thing I'd like to clarify there, the board that you're speaking of in Kingsport is Upper East Tennessee Human Development Agency, and this is the First Tennessee Development Agency that manages this program, two different organizations.
I've had a deal with them too, and it's the same way, I know a person got me down about $30,000, and couldn't get no answer. They approved it, but yet no money of it showed up. And then, didn't know what to turn to, except the mayor, and my county mayor at the time, and Nashville, and then the man that directed the place, if they get back to me on it. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion?
Well, I know this program's been going on for several years, and it is a good program for the elderly and the people that needs this assistance. I know that it's been done, and a lot of people accept it, so I'm glad for it.
Good number of people have been helped, and I've been on their properties and seen how much difference it's made. And I'm certain that there are some situations where there's problems, but all the ones that I've been associated with are extremely positive. Any other discussion? Mr. Lyons?
Yeah, I think historically I'm pretty familiar with this program. And $500,000 may seem like a lot of money, but it really isn't, because they usually have to have a waiting list that you go on after you reach a certain number. And a number of people cannot be helped for that reason. But it's not excluding anyone, it's just not enough money to go out.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir. Anything else? Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Buford Peters. William Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crawford. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Beth Pugh. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Holder. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis.
No?
Ray Lyons. Sonia Fuller. Scott Summerlin. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
19 ayes, motion passes. And we'll move on to the next resolution, establishing time, date, and place of commission meetings. Attorney Harden, if you could read that for me, please.
This is a resolution establishing the time, date, and place for all regular scheduled sessions of the Carter County Commission. Whereas Tennessee Code Annotated Section 55104 provides that regular meetings of each county legislative body should be held at the time, date, and place set by resolution of each county legislative body. And whereas said statute further requires that there should be at least 4 regular meetings of the county legislative body each year. And whereas the Carter County Commission holds its regularly scheduled monthly meetings in the courtroom located on the 2nd floor of the Carter County Courthouse at 801 East Elk Avenue, Elizabeth, Tennessee. Whereas the Carter County Commission meets in regular session on the 3rd Monday of each month, unless the 3rd Monday falls on a holiday, at which time the meeting is held on the next business day following said holiday. Whereas the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee feels that it is in the best interest of the citizens of Carter County to set the meeting time for each of the regularly scheduled meetings of the Commission at 6:00 p.m. each month, And whereas the regularly scheduled meetings of the commission should be subject to cancellation from time to time at the discretion of the Carter County Commission Chairman, with said cancellations being announced at the commission meeting immediately preceding the meeting to be canceled, whether in regular session or special called session. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this the 23rd day of February 2015, the lawful quorum of said commission being present, with majority voting in the affirmative, as follows. 1, the commission hereby adopts this resolution establishing the time, date, and place for the regular meetings of the Carter County Commission pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 55104. 2, the commission shall meet in regular session each month in the courtroom located on the second floor of the Carter County Courthouse at 801 East Elk Avenue, Elizabeth, Tennessee. 3, all regularly scheduled meetings shall be held at 6 o'clock p.m. on the third Monday of each month, unless the third Monday falls on a holiday, which time the meeting shall be held on the next business day following said holiday. 4, the regularly scheduled meetings of the commission shall be subject to cancellation from time to time at the discretion of the Carter County Commission Chairman, with said cancellations being announced at the commission meeting immediately preceding the meeting to be canceled, whether in regular or special called session. This resolution shall have no effect on the day or time for special called sessions of the Carter County Commission, and this resolution shall remain in effect until such time as repealed or amended by a majority vote of the Carter County Commission. Be it further resolved that this resolution in its entirety shall be effective from and after the date of its adoption, and all prior resolutions in conflict with this resolution are hereby repealed, the welfare of the county demanding.
With that, the chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt this.
I'll say that.
Motion made by Mr. Lewis, second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion?
This copy of the resolution I have says that the meeting in regular session on this the 17th day.
That was placed in the packet. Keep in mind, we had to cancel because of the snow. We're rescheduled. The one that the attorney has been amended. We could have made all new copies and passed out, but we decided we wanted to save a few trees.
Okay.
The only thing we'll change is the date. Mr. Von Cannon.
I recently pulled the 95 counties, as someone has done here, to show 14 counties are already on board with the roll call program. I suspect that the number would be much higher if some of the counties only have 5 commissioners. The average size of the commission statewide is 10. Therefore, it wouldn't be as advantageous to those counties that have 5 or 6, 9, 10, as it would be for us as we have 24. So I think it is a time saver.
Mr. Lewis.
I'm speaking to my colleagues now. I never did say nothing about this before, but comments have been made, got different people working. When we have these at 9 o'clock, I have to close my shop in 4 to 5 hours every time we have a 9 o'clock meeting. Now, I know this when I took this job, when I got elected to this job. But I think it's fair. I've done a lot of checking with my people in my district. And all of them say that if they had to vote on it, they would vote for 6 o'clock in the evening. Now, all these other meetings, you said at 6 o'clock. Now, everything at 6 o'clock except the county commission meeting. And I think it would be foolish not to not have it at 6 o'clock also. It needs to be more meeting for some commissioners. It would be more meeting for some people who came to these meetings tonight. And I hope everybody will for it.
Any other comments pertaining to Mr. Miller?
Talk about the early 9 o'clock. I went out in our community and I took a survey. Everybody wanted to be set at 6 o'clock. Of course, people were going to disagree. Whatever is best for the people. Now, there's some of the people here said you wouldn't be here if it's 9 o'clock in the morning. But most of the people in Toby up there wants it at 6 o'clock every day. That's it.
People have to want to too.
Mr. Hughes.
I've had several comments on the topic also, and I have to say that the comments that I've gotten have been split a little more evenly. There's been a case made for folks that can't drive at night, and precluding the 6 PM meetings. The most interesting suggestion that I fielded from a constituent was just today, actually, when it was suggested that we entertain an idea of perhaps going with 6 PM meetings during daylight savings time when it's still light at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, and having morning meetings to accommodate the folks that can't drive in the dark at other times. And I'm just passing on what's been brought across my desk.
Ms. Brown?
I've been a commissioner, this is my 3rd term, and all 3 terms I've had citizens tell me, I'd come to meetings if I could remember whether they was going to be day or night meetings. I think people want some stability here, and they'll know more, and they really want the night meetings.
Anyone else before we ask the clerk to call roll? Mr. Lyons?
Just one comment to clarify what Mr. Lewis said earlier. Not all committees are meeting at 6 o'clock. The Financial Management Committee is meeting at 8:31.
I know that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Got it.
Seeing no other comments, Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Buford Peters,
No.
Willie Campbell,
No.
Jerry Prophet, Nancy Brown,
Yes,
Mike Hill,
No?
Al Meehan, Beth Depew, Ronnie Crivitt, Charles Von Cannon,
Aye.
Elsie Tester,
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff,
No.
Danny Ward,
No.
Ross Garland,
No.
Timothy Holdren,
Aye.
Bobby Diggs,
no,
Randall Jenkins,
No.
Larry Miller,
Aye.
John Lewis,
Aye.
Ray Lyons,
Aye.
Sonia Coler,
no,
Scott Simmerly, Cody McQueen,
Aye.
Robert Carroll,
Aye.
Robert Goble,
Aye.
11
11 yeses.
yeses, 9 noes, motion fails. We'll move on to committee reports. Ms. Culler, if you would, Budget Committee, come forward.
You have in your packet, your budget packet. Mr. Von Cannon looks like this. You want to follow along with me? The Budget Committee had a request from Judge Keith Bowers and Judge Stacy Street on the needs of the courtroom annex. The Mayor reviewed the estimates for additional ceiling tiles, baseboards, paints, installation of a sound and recording system, reupholstering and painting the gallery chairs for an approximate total of $47,000. Motion was made to transfer the $47,000 from the litigation fund to the building and grounds budget to cover the cost of the courtroom renovations. And I'll put that on the motion.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll say
Second from Ms. Brown. Any discussion pertaining to the transfer of the $47,000?
Now wait, she said it's gonna come from litigation and, building and grounds committee.
To the building and grounds.
It will be coming to the Buildings and Grounds budget.
Okay,
Okay. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you would please call a roll. And again, you're voting for or against the transfer.
Buford Peters,
Aye.
Willie Campbell, Jerry Crawford, Nancy Brown, Mike Hill,
Aye.
Al Meehan, Beth Depew, Ronnie Crivitt, Charles Von Cannon, Elsie Tester,
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff, Danny Ward, Ross Garland, Timothy Hogan, Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, Mayor.
The list of donations for the animal shelter has been received. I make the motion we accept the donations total $818.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Ms. Deets. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell. Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Alvin Hand. Beth DePew. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Branstad. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Holden. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff. All ayes.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item.
The committee reviewed and discussed General Fund Budget 101, Amendment number 8. All items were approved with the exception of number 7, which was set aside for discussion later. That motion was denied. Motion to approve General 101, Amendment number 8, with the exception of number 7, for a total of $59,420.26, with zero coming from the fund balance. I make that form of a motion.
Second, Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I'd like to say we passed 27 bills that day, and I feel like we singled out the planning department and we refused to do that. I don't understand why we did that.
Any other discussion? Mr. Hill.
I was reviewing this earlier, and it does seem a little inconsistent to deny the planning department the reallocation of funds here, since we do it in every other department in the county. I think we should probably give our department heads autonomy over their budget, so long as they're not coming after us for extra money. And I can't see a reason in this world why we wouldn't approve this item number 7 here for Mr. Schuler and the planning department.
Ms. Brown.
I'm on the budget committee, and this was to give a raise to Mr. Schuler. And Mr. Schuler, we had a workshop back in August, September. And it was all the commissioners, and we sat there and we asked him, we grilled him. And we asked if he was willing to go back to school to get his training. And he told me no, that he was not willing to go back to school. He was going to retire before long, and that he knew all he needed to know. And for that reason, I don't think the citizens of this county are to pay for a substantial raise of $5,300 for Mr. Schuler. And I'll stand for my constituents by saying, no, I don't think he deserves that raise.
Mr. True.
Mr. Chairman, in the committee, we voted this down. So
And that's what the motion is before you today. The motion is for General Fund 101, Amendment 8, with the exception of item 7. Item 7 is taken out.
Right, so I don't see why it was brought up again.
Things should be settled in committee.
Right.
And that's what's happened today.
And we settled this in committee.
The
So
motion,
So I don't see why it's brought up again tonight.
the motion that's before you is exactly what came from committee. The motion again is to approve General Fund 101, Amendment number 8, with the exception of item 7. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I hate to prolong this. I just want to clear one thing. Mr. Schuler, I'm mistaken, I might be mistaken, but did you say that you would go back and get the certifications?
Right,
I just want to
Mr.
clear
Jenkins,
that
you're
up.
exactly right. After
In
we
the
lost a couple employees, it looks like that I'm gonna have to go back and do the certifications and work on that.
get the change, yes, sir. Thank you.
Discussion on the motion.
Ms. Brown?
I think once Mr. Schuler goes back and gets his certification and come back to us, we'll be glad to approach this again and give you your raise if it's well deserved.
Well, Ms. Brown, that was sent by the planning
Mr.
commission. Only
Schuler?
one no vote against it was which the county mayor voted against it.
Ms. Schuler? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll. Call the roll.
Buford Peters.
No.
Willie Campbell.
No.
Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown.
Yes.
Mike Hill.
No.
Al Meehan. Beth Dupuy. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
No.
Isaiah Grinstein.
Mr. Grindstaff?
Yes.
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 Danny Ward.
No.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan.
Aye.
Bobby Dees.
No.
Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
No.
Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
Seven
13
others.
yeses, motion passes. Next item, Chairman.
Motion to approve general school purpose fund budget 101, amendment number 7 with one item for a total of $12,290.20. I'll make that one for motion.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lewis, any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown.
Aye.
Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Beth Dupuy. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstein.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan.
Aye.
Bobby Dees.
Aye.
Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, Chairman.
Make the motion to approve general school purpose fund budget 141, amendment number 7 with one item for a total of $1,000.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Lewis, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Prophet. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Beth Dupuy. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstein.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan.
Aye.
Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item.
I don't think it's my place, but I didn't hear any disclaimers, so I'd hate for that to come back on this.
Is there any school employee that would like to state their disclaimer now?
It's not my place either, but there wasn't any in Randolph County in it either, so you might want to make sure that you have a disclaimer there.
Not, okay, let's move on to next item.
The mayor brought forth the bids received from the wireless voting system. He's recommended the Roll Call Pro Advanced System, which was the lowest bid. He also explained how he would transfer funds from building and grounds budget to purchase the system. laptop computer, copier, printer for a total of $20,000. Need that form of a motion from someone.
I'll second.
I didn't make the motion.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
motion by Mr. Holman, second by Mr. Lewis. Any discussion? Mr. Tester?
I don't understand why we spend $20,000 taxpayer money on something that we need.
Anyone else? Mr. Ward?
I've got a letter here from Mr. J.P. Edwards asking us not to do this, because he says voting's free. I'm the one who brought this topic up about Roll Call Pro, and I feel like it's something we need, but I think we're rushing this. And, I tried to voice my opinion last meeting, and I was shut down. I wasn't trying to stop the meeting. I was trying to merely say, let's look at other options. And I don't think we've looked at other options. I think we've looked at one particular game system, and that's where we stopped. We need something that will work with Miss Gooch, so she, like some of the other counties have. I mean, let's look at other options. Let's don't wait today for something we're not sure about. We did get to see what's going on. It's fine, but there's other stuff out there. Let's look at it, let's slow down, and see what else is out there.
Mr. Hill?
Along those lines, I did some calling around. Actually, you gave me some counties that you recommended that I talked to after the previous meeting, and I think it's a neat system. I'm not against getting one. We're putting it on a wish list for a goal to set for this body. But there's the e-meeting folks are based in Piney Flats. Here's my take on this thing. There were some items in there. You've actually broken it down a little better than what's presented in the packet today. But there's some iPads and things that were extremely expensive in the quote, the all-inclusive quote from the e-meeting folks. More importantly than that, I'm a big fan of doubling the impact of any expenditures we make of our county funds. Business Information Systems, I guess that's the name of the outfit, and it is local in Piney Flats as opposed to Roll Call Pro, which is based somewhere out of the state. Theoretically, a $20,000 investment, and hear me on this too, these are rough numbers. The price of acquiring an e-meeting system wouldn't be as outrageously different as the Roll Call Pro price if we secured the common goods, if you will, outside of the deal. But a $20-some-odd-thousand expenditure made in Piney Flats, a good 70 or 80% of that dollar amount will remain in our local economy. If we send it to Roll Call Pro, we basically just send it away. So we'd be doubling our impact and reasonably expecting that some of that would circulate locally here if we did look at the other system. I'm not against a roll call system, but, and I've prepared notes on all my stuff. I've got extra copies for everyone, but, and it's more than just the roll call process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. And just to respond to that, the facility in Piney Flats actually bid.
Right.
And they were not the lowest bidder. They were the 10,000 plus more. And the specs were written such that their e-meeting would have been covered within that. So, Mr. Loach, we advertised, we put it out. Those people had every opportunity to bid, and they did, and they were $10,000 higher than the other, actually more than that. And as far as the systems, we're not rushing into this, Commissioner Ward. We have been working on this for a number of years. I myself have went down to Hawkins County 4 years ago, and I sat through their system. I've talked with their clerk, I've talked with their mayor, I've talked with Unicoi that has the BIS system. They've got some concerns and problems. This happens to be the simplest system on the market today. And since we started this investigation, for your request, Commissioner Warren, I have made countless contacts with people all across the country that have various other systems. The Roll Call Pro system just happens to be the simplest system on the market today. And as a result, I called Roll Call Pro, asked them to give us a list of those other counties in Tennessee, not the school boards that are using, not the city council, but just county that have this system and brought it online. You have been given a list of 14 other counties that have vetted this system, and it's proven to be the best system for them. It's your decision. Yes, sir.
Do you buy the first car you go to test drive?
I do not, and this is not the first car that we've test driven.
Yes, it is.
So, Mr. Lewis.
Okay, now, like Mr. Mayor said, we got a package in our, names in our package here, and most of these counties is bigger than we got, not commissioner-wise, but more population than we got. And if they can use it successfully, and I didn't see nothing wrong with the demonstration that we had down here that night. I thought it went good, and I think it'd be a good investment for Carter County Commission.
Ms. Brown.
We're always talking about wanting to up the technology for our schools. Our courtroom needs to be up too. I think this would be the best investment this county has made in years, and money well spent. This last meeting was one of the best meetings that we've had in almost 9 years. So I think this is the best investment this county can make.
Now, we know we've not seen any other systems.
Ms. Deeds.
It's about time for the budget committee to start working on the budget for next year. Last year, we asked every department to cut their budget 5%, and they cooperated. Also, we raised the tax rate. Now, are we going to have a new budget this year where we're going to ask them to cut their budget again and maybe have to raise the tax rate again? I don't think it's fair for us to spend money this way and then us ask departments to cut their money, cut their budget.
Any other comments? Mr. Campbell.
From the first district, I've talked to a lot of people up there. They think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. I agree with them 100%. I don't think we should be dealing out $20,000 for this system. I think the yes and the no, or the yay or nay, is still just as good as it was 50 years ago. Listen, it's work there, and it will still work today. That's what we've got Mary Gooch and her here for today, and that's their job, and they're doing a great job at it. I don't see a thing wrong with what we got.
Mr. Tester.
Also, this is not a one-time thing, this is gonna cost us something like $1,500 a year, that price will only go up. So it's not a one-time $20,000, I don't know if everybody understands that or not. There's a maintenance fee goes with this, something like $1,500 a year, that won't go away.
Just a question to you, because we are uniquely set up, and this is no new taxpayer money out of this resolution?
This is absolutely no new money. It's money that's in the budget. It's something that will not have to be addressed next year. We may not have this opportunity next year. It just depends on what kind of expenses we're faced with, what kind of emergency. We're just fortunate to have the money there available to make the purchase this year. So I just want you to be clear of that. It is an opportunity to move forward. I've talked with the court systems. I've got a meeting actually tomorrow in Jonesboro, the AOC, to look at their system so that we can upgrade the courtroom. Again, this is not just for the county commission. This is for our courts as well. It's an opportunity to upgrade and move forward. Commissioner Peters.
This may not be new money, but it's tax money. This money is coming out of the maintenance budget. Okay, he's saying we're $20,000 over budgeted. Are we gonna cut $20,000 come budget time out of that budget? If we've got $20,000 now, then we'll have $20,000 we need to cut out of it come budget time. Just remember, this is tax money. And let me tell you from experience, you answer to the taxpayer.
Any other commissioner comments? Madam Clerk, you would please call a roll.
Richard Peters,
No.
Lee Campbell,
Nope.
Jerry Crockett, Nancy Brown,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
No.
Al Meehan, Beth Depew, Ronnie Crivitt, Charles Von Cannon,
Aye.
Elsie Tester,
No.
Isaiah Grinstein,
No.
Danny Ward,
No.
Ross Garland,
Aye.
Timothy Hogan,
Aye.
Bobby Dees, Randall Jenkins,
Aye.
Larry Miller,
Aye.
John Lewis, Ray Lyons, Sonia Coler,
No.
Scott Sanborn, Cody McQueen,
Aye.
Robert Carroll,
Aye.
Robert Goff,
Aye.
Twelve yeses, 8 noes.
12 yeses, 8 noes, motion fails. Next item.
After the committee met, the bids came in for the annex parking lot. There's two bids. The lowest bid was $42,745. This amount will take the project from the stage the highway department has constructed to its final completion. The highway department has incurred the expense of $6,521.68. This brings the total project up to $49,266.68. And I would like to make the motion that we approve the payment of this expense from the general capital funds 171, where we have sufficient funds which remain for the completion of the jail.
I have a second. Mr. Lyons, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
Richard Peters, Lee Campbell,
Aye.
Jerry Crockett, Nancy Brown, Mike Hill,
Aye.
Al Meehan, Beth Depew, Ronnie Crivitt, Charles Von Cannon, Elsie Testor,
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstein,
I missed the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion was that we approve $49,266.68 for the completion of the jail annex parking lot.
Because I'm an employee of Carter County, I had a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer all of my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Aye.
Danny Ward,
Aye.
Ross Garland,
Aye.
Timothy Hogan,
Aye.
Bobby Dees, Randall Jenkins,
Aye.
Larry Miller,
Aye.
John Lewis, Ray Lyons, Sonia Coler, Scott Semley, Cody McQueen,
Aye.
Robert Carroll, Robert Goff.
Aye.
Can I read my disclaimer, if I could, please? Like to read my
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Because I'm employed in Clark County, I have conflict of interest in the proposed about the vote. However, I can try my argument, my vote has to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents, the citizens this body represents.
Thank you. Mr. Goff, sir.
Yes, sir. For the past few months, I've been thinking about this Carter County Tomorrow program that we have. It looks like that we're putting $40,000 a year into this program. We have for the last 7 years, which approximately is about $280,000. I've yet to see the first industry come into Carter County that will put our people to work, or see one hourly wage coming in to put the citizens of Carter County to work. I think it's time that we look this program over or look for a new program and do like the old saying is, stop and smell the roses.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. Let's go on to the next committee. Let's go to Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Lyons. If you would, please.
I think all the commissioners probably received the minutes in the packet. I think you can see from the minutes that you have before you that we're continuing to move from building to building and location to location, trying to determine what spaces we can utilize and also what spaces that we cannot be utilized, and maybe try to generate some revenue in that process. We did visit 4 different sites after the last meeting. We visited the EMS, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith's program downstairs. And I think this even got Mr. Campbell in the newspaper with a very fine shot of his picture when he said you couldn't even go down there and turn around with a hamburger in your hand at an emergency. So that may tell you something about what the space is. If you haven't seen the space down in Mr. Smith's place, you need to go down there. We left there and we went to the 911 building, the new 911 building. And if you haven't been in that space as well, you need to go up there and visit in that space, because there's a tremendous amount of square footage left in that space that we need to try to do something with. Maybe with EMA, or maybe with some other entity that needs a space. But there's a huge amount of space up there. And if you put Mr. Smith up there, then you would have all the 911 and first responders and all that kind of thing in place. And I heard a lot of discussion as we went up there from different commissioners that made that tour with us. We left there and we went down to the old 911 building, which was the health department when I was growing up, where I got my vaccinations to go to school. That's another building. If you haven't been inside of it, you really need to go down there and visit it, because it's not going to take very much money at all, in terms of a large amount of money, to get that thing redone inside, to get it up to snuff, so to speak, where we could possibly utilize, maybe for, well, to give you an example, it's in the minutes. Ms. Harris, the election commission, went with us. Mr. Souter, I think he's the vice chair of the, as well as I recall, the election commission went with us. They felt that that would be a great space for them. A couple of questions came up during that visit from the commissioners that I think was addressed fairly well. One was parking issues. Do we have enough parking space? And there'd already been some discussion with the Masonic Lodge, which is on the backside of the building, and then there's a big church, if you recall, right in front of the old building. And both of those entities, organizations, whatever you want to call them, had already been initially talked with about utilizing their space during the early voting periods, during times of heavy traffic for the election commission. And the real upside of that building is, if you've been up here on early voting day, there's a lot of people out here. Some people probably don't even vote because of not being able to get into the building. And so I think that's another opportunity for us to keep looking at. We left there and went to the animal shelter, and give credit to the animal shelter. Mr. McQueen, I think, is on that board. They're doing a great job over there. They have some plans to try to deal with that sound issue that's interfering with the campground. I also noted today, in trying to read my minutes again, that there's been over $100,000 that's been raised from the public for the animal shelter. I think that speaks highly for the citizens of Carter County for just trying to raise that much money. Now that's the tours that we made, and then going back to the ones that we're already working with, the health department. You all approved, and the budget committee approved doing that design work. That design work was signed on, I can't remember the date, but it was signed. And then Mr. Holdren, Tim Holdren, Commissioner Holdren, was also working from his end, trying to see what to do with the HVAC system and what would be best in that process. And so he made a call, made a few emails that I saw those, Mr. Holdren, I appreciate what you did. And so the HVAC system is going to be included in the design work for the health department, the existing health department. I was trying to think if there's anything else on, yeah, one other thing. Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins had talked with several people, one in particular who was concerned about coming into this building and the handicap accessibility. And he inquired and into getting some automatic doors for both sides of the building where people can actually in wheelchairs and actually hit a button and open the doors like you can in many, many spaces. And I think the cost was in there, I can't remember what it was. But when I voted, as far as I know, I don't have anything on building and grounds that needs any kind of approval tonight. The jail parking lot is moving along, the bids were open on that, and Ms. Culler talked about that in her budget report. Are there any questions on the building and ground? Yes, sir, Mr. Tester.
Got a question. I heard that sometime back, several months before 911 moved, that old 911 building had some issues with the roof.
Yeah, that's a great question. We already have, and I've been there twice to check on it myself. Mr. Story, Floyd Story Roofing, has had two different crews down there at different times, and there was a leak in one of the corners. After we even visited the place, we determined this. There was a leak in that very left corner, and what they're doing, I stopped and asked the people how they were going to repair that so it wouldn't leak. And what their plans were they're digging valleys about 9 feet deep into the guttering system. But one of the things that's interesting, and that's a great question, because one of the things that's interesting is they have found that the guttering system that's on there now is about 4 inches above the roof. So what was going on? I don't know who put that roof on. I'm glad it wasn't me, Mr. Ward, or you. Wouldn't get criticized for it, I'm sure. I don't know who put that, but they're taking that down as well, Mr. Tester. Taking it down where it'll not puddle up and flow through. So there has been problems in the past with the roof. It's my understanding that that's going to be taken care of.
Well, my interest was we going to have to go into spend a lot of money replacing it, or because we just replaced one roof, and that's a pretty expensive project.
I can't speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I contacted Mr. Floyd Story and got his crew out and gave me an estimate, and we cut the purchase order. Materials and labor not to exceed $2,500. Couple items. One is to repair the roof drain where the leak was initially, and then absolutely the scuffers or gutters around the perimeter of the building were a little too high for the membrane and the way the roof is now. When we were down, there were about 2.5 inches of water standing on the membrane consistently. So he's lowered those gutters and has put some elevation in to get some proper drainage. And he feels that within itself will give us 7 more years of life on the membrane that's on the building. Now, when we will have to replace it, it's anybody's guess, but right now the membrane overall appears to be in good shape. But we did need to go ahead and take that action, and he should be completed with that work as we speak.
Is that how, Mr. Tester?
Well, I'd like to just say that, those buildings that the county owns, if they have a roof leak, we need to fix it, because the more they leak, the more the damage there is, and pretty soon the building will be destroyed. So, hopefully what you guys are doing, we need to keep up our county buildings.
Any other questions?
Mr. Lyons, would you explain approximately what it's going to cost to paint the inside and put the tile and stuff down, you know?
We haven't had a quote on it. But my understanding is, in looking at it, and all the commissioners just talking around and looking to Mr. Campbell and Mr. Ward, Mr. Grindstaff, all the committee members, I think, were there. Looking at it, I think we were talking, just $10,000 to $12,000 to get the thing inside ready.
And it's painting, putting the
It's
floor
paying
down.
using
Prison labor.
yeah, prison labor. Any other questions on the building and grounds? Do you want me to go ahead and make?
If you would, please, while you're here, just go ahead and do financial management.
Okay, the Financial Management Committee met on February 4th at 8:30 a.m. We had all members present. We did update the policy and procedures. All of you have these minutes, I hope, in your packet. Okay. So there's no need for me to really be repetitive and try to do all this stuff and prolong our meeting. As you can see down through here, the policy procedure manual was approved. Thanks to Ms. Deloach for taking care of that for us. She did put out requests for proposals, as you can read, for insurance. That was passed in committee. One of the things that may be something that we can spend a little time talking about is the very next item. It's at the bottom of the first page. Discussion of history of lagging of county payroll. When I put this on the agenda to Ms. Deloach, we were back and forth doing the agenda. She asked me, how did you come to this conclusion to put this on the agenda? And I told her that several people had talked to me about this particular item, and I think she was surprised that I had it on the agenda. But in hindsight and tonight, I'm glad that we did have it on the agenda. You can see from the minutes, this, and there's also an attachment with this too, at the very back, that I'm going to make reference to. But what we're talking about is lagging payroll employed for county employees. The school system, Dr. Ward was there. They have been on it for some time. He said that he is experiencing no problems at this time with this. The landfill is another entity that's already on it. They are experiencing no problems with this. But really, if you go back and look at that very last page in the minutes, the very last page, it gives you a historical accounting of how long it's been discussed in this body. It goes back to 2004. And after Ms. Deloach saw that it was on the agenda, she had, I think I can speak for her, some doubts if it would really go through committee. But as we talked about it and talked about the history and how it's really not a lot of money to do this, probably none at all, would be my guess. And then I saw it was a very strong recommendation from Ms. Deloach, and which would continue to clean up our accounting and practices. And then I think really what got our attention more is not only is the school system already on it, not only is the landfill on it, Mr. Cobal, as the highway department commissioner, superintendent, he chimed in very quickly and said he couldn't understand why he'd never been on Starbuck, because that's why he had been used to in state government for years. So we have a strong recommendation from Ms. Deloach to lag the employee, the payroll. We have a school system that's very large, that's been on it for a while, without any problems. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't say this in committee. In any committee, you're going to have some discussion. Mr. Ward, and I apologize to him and again tonight, because when I gave out the historical piece, I'd only received it from Mr. Lowe's the night, about 11 o'clock that day before. And he commented on, he just really didn't feel like something should be brought to a committee and handed out and then voted on. And I certainly respected that. But what I told Mr. Deloach is, I wasn't handing out anything that was going to impact the budget. I wasn't handing out anything that was going to impact the new money. I was only handing out the historical piece of this, which goes back to 2004. Mr. Trevor.
Mr. Chairman, are you going to make a motion we accept this lagging payroll?
I'm not going to make a motion, but I want to recommend from our committee that a motion be made, that it be passed and
At
carried.
this moment, I'll make the motion that we go to this lagging payroll.
Thank you, sir.
Have a motion made by Commissioner Privet, second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion pertaining to lagging of payroll as outlined in the minutes? Mr. Campbell.
I know Mr. Caldwell here, and I do work for the highway department. Everybody knows that. I've got bothers me that this is under R.H. Taylor, that this was made. This has been brought up several times. I know he didn't make records and a lot of it at that time, but I was held 2 weeks behind. There's no paper to prove that, but I do have a witness that worked here, a secretary, that we was held 2 weeks behind. Also, the reason it was done, because he furnished uniforms, and he also said if you left the county, then you would return the uniforms or you would lose that pay. So I'm still under that, and I also, Mr. Caldwell, he discussed it with us at the highway department. Also, I got this from the men at the highway department. Most of these men are scattered out all over the county. They're 100%, they do not want it. So I'm speaking on behalf of them too. And, I don't see anything that we should, most of those boys, you've got to understand, most of those guys are working from paycheck to paycheck. And it's hard to make it. And if you start cutting into their pay, it's gonna hurt.
Commissioner Peters.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure this is the proper order to bring this up. This is not on the agenda. We have no information about this. I think, fine if somebody wants to bring it up, but we should have a little heads up on this beforehand, before we bring this to a vote.
Sir, just to point out, you've got the same information you have here as you do with the budget committee items and everything else. It's detailed. You've got the discussion, you've got the history, just to qualify. Mr. Von Cannon.
Mr. Chairman, Ingrid has outlined a plan that doesn't institute this thing immediately. It gives people several weeks, several months to get their house in order, if you will, before it goes into effect. Could we ask Ingrid to explain that to the group?
Mr. Loach, if you would please explain this in detail. I know it's clear here in the minutes, but if you could just reiterate it so that everybody can be comfortable with what we're voting on.
We're glad to. It was approved in financial management, and I did include the historical discussion. I did not include the copy of every meeting that went through there, but if you look, it goes back to May of 2004. And if you were on financial management, I'll put those in your box with you, Mr. Wood. I hope you got that. It did take some time to pull that, and you can see there's been lots of discussion about this. Every time it comes up, my phone rings off the hook, and believe me, I understand. Employees are working from paycheck to paycheck, and we do not pay our employees sufficient. I'll be the first to tell you that. I've been there working minimum wage. I'm fortunate where I am today, but there are employees who are not as fortunate as I am. And in order to help those employees and try to make it as easy as possible on all employees, and we did look at a plan, I think it was actually 2 times ago that we brought this up, that we looked at this plan. It was to do it over a 5-pay period cycle, which would be 10 weeks. It's not immediate. It is over a 5-pay period cycle. And the very first thing that I said was we cannot do any plan without sufficient notification to our employees. I think we need to give 6 months. We're pushing it here because we've had to wait because of weather and everything else, but July the 1st is what was recommended for it to start. To me, that's pushing a little, but it should be sufficient time in order to do that. And the plan was to lag the payroll by 1 day each payroll cycle for 5 payroll cycles. So if we were to get paid this coming Friday, what would happen was the payroll would not be issued until the next Monday. So if payroll was supposed to be on Friday, on Monday the 2nd, you would get your check. It would be for the same dollar amount that it would have been on that Friday, but you have to wait till the Monday to get it. Then the next payroll will come on the Tuesday. The next one the Wednesday, the next one the Thursday, then the final one will be on the Friday. You'll have a week lag at that point. At no time will anyone's paycheck be reduced. It will only be held an extra day. Now, I understand that from Friday to Monday is more than 1 day, but I also understand that I don't have an office that's open Saturday to Sunday, those 2 days. So that's the next business day. That's when the bank will be able to honor the direct deposit. And we have talked about employees not being able to make their payments scheduled correctly. And I understand you have payments that come out regardless of when you get paid, and that they don't care when you get your paycheck. I talked to lots of local banks to make sure that that would not be a problem, and as long as we give sufficient notice, they should be able to do that. Payments are one thing, court orders are another thing. And if our employees have child support or garnishments, that court expects that check to be cut the day of payroll and sent to them. I've discussed it with the courts, and we'll let them know that those are also coming in a week later. And we'll also give them a calendar as far as the lag being set for those 5 payrolls. So I think we have tried to cover our bases, Mr. Campbell. I did, and you brought this up the last time that you were held out 2 weeks, and we did go full, I can't remember the employee that helped me. I think it was Maynard that actually helped me, but we went to the 2nd floor of the garage and went through box after box after box. Because in the 70s, it was not computerized, so I can't just pull up a system. So you pull out the boxes and you type the paper, and he's correct in saying there is no documentation that says they were lagged for 2 weeks. I don't distrust you, I just don't have anything to prove it.
You mean a witness don't count?
I absolutely
Lori
don't have
was secretary here, she took care of it at that time, and you can get her on the phone and she will back this up.
When we were brought to this the last time, I asked Attorney Bowers what I should do because I had an employee
Okay, I
that
agree,
was
give me
late.
my 2 weeks pay then, and then cut off the other part of it, then you're gonna do that. No, it's not right, though, people. Let me tell you something's going on here. It always hits the highway department, I don't understand this. It always hits the highway, take from the highway department, do this to the highway department. You're already, if you don't understand this, you're already, most people are being harder, Mr. Paul knows this. If you come in as a new man, you're paying half of your insurance, you're paying half of your retirement, you're paying half of everything. I'm paying my wife's insurance out of it, and all this. You know, and it's hard to make.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Ms. Brown, I think you had something you'd like to say.
I'd just like to say that we brought this up for years, and it's been out there, the highway, the school system, everybody knew that it was going to come eventually. I don't know of anybody that ain't living from paycheck to paycheck right now, but this is something that needs to happen, and this county needs to step up and do the right thing.
Mr. Lowe's, you recommend this?
I will tell you, as soon as you approve it, I will have employees sitting at my desk. So can I tell you that I recommend it? I can't tell you that I think it's going to be good for me if you do pass it, but I can tell you it's a good sound accounting practice to do.
Well, it'd be better for you.
It will be a good sound accounting practice. Better for me, probably not, because they'll be waiting at my car when I go to work.
Mr. Scott, will it be better for you?
Yes, because we have to work full time before we work, and we do work overtime, and people do take off, and so that time is to be adjusted at a later date.
Mr. Tester.
It will not, it may be better for these department heads, it may be better for Mr. Lowe's, and I'm for all of that, but you're going to hurt, if you vote this in, you are going to hurt a lot of people that's got small children. Because we went through this before, you will make it real difficult. If you insist upon this, then the right thing to do is to give every employee here 80 hours of pay, at their rate of pay, and they don't miss nothing. Other than that, I'm talking about people that's in their under 20s with children. You're going to put a lot of people in a hard place. So you go ahead and you do that, but that's what you want to do.
Any other discussion?
I would like,
I would like to just reiterate one thing. I think Mr. Loach put it best. Do you want to operate under good business practice, or do you not? I mean, it's that simple.
Years, what's wrong with that?
With that, Mr. Loach is finance director. She's made a recommendation. Mr. Loach, you shouldn't have to be fearful of making your way down to the automobile. There's plenty of people here that make certain you get there safely. But the question is, do you want to continue not using good business practice, or do you want to go ahead and kick in and bring this thing up to speed? That's the question. And Mr. Chairman, one last thing, I think you got a comment.
How many times has this been brought up? How many years has this been brought up?
since 2004.
2004.
And it's been, Mr. Campbell, it has been, one idea I think I remember on that sheet was to give $150,000 to implement this process. If you're gonna raise $150,000, people in Carter County are gonna run in Silas County, I think. But this is my point, Mr. Campbell, with all due respect, and to everyone else who's asked a question. We have a finance director that we believe in. I think everything I hear is positive. You have a committee that's made up of a lot of several different people, including Mr. Ward, Mr. Danny Ward, Mr. Caldwell's here, Dr. Kevin Ward's on that committee. Of course, the mayor's on that committee, I'm on the committee. And we had a good discussion about all this, and we said, this has been going on long enough, why don't we try to get this back up, get it implemented in the right way? And I think she's made a solid recommendation. And the thing that maybe we all don't realize is, this fits real well in what the comptroller is saying about how we do business down the road. And it goes back to what she was saying. It enhances or it improves good government accounting practices and principles. That's why I'm for it. That's why I brought it to the floor. But I brought it to the floor with a strong recommendation from everyone on the committee. It passed unanimously.
With that being said, the motion's been made and seconded. We've had very lengthy discussion in this matter. Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll. And the motion is to approve the lagging of payroll as outlined by Mr. Loach and as referenced here in the minutes, beginning with the first payroll in July 2015. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Hubert Peters. Willie Campbell.
Nope.
Jerry Crockett, Nancy Brown.
Yes.
Mike Hill.
Aye.
Almy Hand. Beth Depew. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Von Cannon.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Because I'm employed in Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the public about to be voted. I have my kind of argument in my both honors and my conscience, my obligation to petitions, the citizen this body represents. No.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Because I'm an employee of Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation, my constituents, and the citizens this body represents.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan.
Aye.
Bobby Dees.
Aye.
Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Summerly. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
3 noes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Unless you have something else? Mr. Von Cannon, Education Committee, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is our next meeting, we've invited Dr. Keith Young to speak to us about Tennessee Promise. Has a lot of questions naturally about Tennessee Promise. Number of people that are going to be enrolled, what effect it's going to have on local space, teachers, etc., what they're expecting out of secondary education. So all the education people naturally, Mr. McLean, probably would gain something from that if you would press on the word. Our next meeting, March 2nd.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
make a motion, we recess for 10 minutes.
Do I hear a second? Have your second. This does require a majority, so I have a first and second by Mr. Jenkins. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
I don't guess you need a voice vote.
No, it does not, sir. It requires a majority, and I want to make sure we got a majority. All those in favor of a recess, answer aye. Those opposed, no.
Buford. Willie Campbell.
Get it over with,
No.
no.
You're going to vote yes, one
Terry
nay.
Crawford. Nancy Brown. Yes. Mike Hill.
Yes.
Alvin Ham. Beth Depew. Ronnie Crivitt.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
No, I've got my pens.
Elsie Dexter. Elsie Smith.
No.
Isaiah Grindstaff. Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan.
Aye.
Bobby Diggs. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons. I'm sorry. Sonia Starr. Scott Simmerly. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
Okay. 5.
Well, don't let me catch you in the bathroom.
We have the majority. Be back in 10 minutes. If you would, please take your seats. We need to get back in session and finish up the meeting. Commissioners, if you would, please take your seats. The next item on the agenda is health and welfare. Mr. Holden, do you have anything you would like to report?
I do not have anything to report this time.
Thanks, sir. The next will be Highway Committee. Mr. Hill?
Don't forget to nominate the committee, Mr. Chairman.
Won't do it, sir. It's in order.
I'm gonna try to keep with you here at 11 o'clock, because we won't be up the bathroom.
Mr. Hill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another short and sweet one, really. First of all, I'd like to give a really huge attaboy to Mr. Roger Colbach and the guys from the Highway Department. I think this is pretty much the first major winter event of the season, and we lived. I got a few phone calls. One mailbox got knocked down, but the Julians have said that they've already set it back up, and everything's cool. They don't want us to do a thing about it. Yes, sir.
I think the thing drive is not good.
Right, well, there you go. So I got to field a few phone calls. Everything was taken care of really quickly, as far as I could tell, and no major problems. So thank you. I don't know, should we give them a round of applause or something? All right, moving right along. I have nothing to bring up in the form of a motion. At the last meeting, we did have public hearings on name change for one road and possible adoption of 2 roads to the county road list. The name change was a no. The Town View Estates Road was voted affirmatively to pick up on the road list pending the owners of the property making proper conveyances.
Mr. Hale?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you will require full commission vote on that.
But that's only when they've made the proper conveyances, is that not correct?
The committee voted to go ahead and accept it, provided they made those conveyances, and I think the commission needs to go along with that as well.
Okay, check that then. If you'll refer to your minutes, we did vote that we would accept it pending the proper right-of-way conveyance to the county. So I'd like to bring that in the form of a motion at this time to adopt Townview Estates Road to the county road list so long as they meet their due diligence that we required in the committee.
I'll say
All right, we had a bunch of them there.
I think actually Ms. Deeds, you made the motion, sir.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Ms. Deeds was the first to second, so any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Rupert Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Beth Hughes. Ronnie Trivet. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff. Danny Morton.
Aye.
Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. Scott Zimmerman. Freddie McQueen. Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion carries. Next item.
Thank you, folks. Moving right along, there was also a public hearing on adopting a Williams Lane to the county road list. They met also all the criteria, the petitioners, as set forth by the county attorney, except for the unanimous approval of all the residents on the road. We tabled that pending my making a couple of phone calls, and I have spoken with the three parties that weren't present at the public hearing or present on the petition, and they are in agreement, so we'll probably be voting on that at the next meeting, which will also, last item, contain a public hearing regarding renaming the Rondell Cole Memorial Highway to read as Ralph and Rondell Cole Memorial Highway, and that'll be happening next Monday unless the weather is bad. So it'll be 6 p.m. at in the mayor's conference room. And that's about all I got for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I just need some clarification. You know, the mayor gets a little twisted from time to time himself. Chairman Hull, as far as the amount that you had quoted earlier for the jail parking lot, what was that amount?
We had a bid of $42,000 separately, I know.
The
We
42?
came in at $42,745.
Uh-huh.
And with the combination of what the highway department has put in it, 65, 21, 68, it made the total 649, 266.68.
Thank you, ma'am. I was just confused on that.
It's all right, I had the same question back here, I should have brought it back up.
Okay, with that, let's go on to landfill. Ms. Deeds, if you would please.
I really don't have that much, Mr. Wilson, given I've been before meetings. I have nothing to add to it at this time.
Okay, thank you. The next one will be law enforcement. Mr. Grindstaff. Well, no longer Mr. Grindstaff, I'm sorry. Mr. Queen.
As the mayor just mentioned, we did have a little bit of a change in the law enforcement. First things first, I want to tell everybody what a great job Mr. Grindstaff has done building just a complete partnership with the sheriff's department, with all of our local county government, just tying us all together in this law enforcement committee. And if we could have just a round of applause for him and all the work he's done, it's been awesome. That being said, they entrusted me with the position. I really appreciate my committee nominating me. It never gets said enough how much our law enforcement does for us, how they always go in when we turn away. They're the first ones we call for help. And I would hope all of you thank law enforcement as often as you get the chance to, because I know I do. One of the things that we're going to try to do in the future, which I've talked to the Sheriff Lunsford about, is we are trying to take care of one of our county buildings in the top of the courthouse, and he wanted to extend another invitation to all the commission, all of my colleagues here, to come and visit. If you haven't had a chance to visit, that is a building that we could really utilize some space in. He's got some excellent ideas on being more efficient and pulling a complete justice center together, as Chief Harris had mentioned a couple of months ago. That's about all I have at this. If anybody needs any special accommodations, there's a certain time that you can meet. The sheriff has told me that he's welcoming everyone, one by one. Come as a group, come in the bus, whatever we can do. We want to get everybody there, and let's make a difference. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. The next one is nominating committee. Mr. Trivett.
I'm gonna try to get everybody out here at 11 o'clock. We had some appointments here to fill on the zoning appeals boards. If you look at your package, you'll find it in there, and we had one nomination, Mr. William Birchfield, and the committee recommends him, so I'll make that in the form of a motion that we accept Mr. Birchfield.
I have a motion, do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Gobble. There were a number of people that seconded. Sometimes it runs together. The one that I heard first was Mr. Gobble. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, you would please call a roll. All those in favor of Mr. Birchfield going to the Board of Zoning Appeals, respond with aye. Those opposed, no.
Rufus Peters. I'm sorry. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett, Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al McCann, Beth Hughes, Ronnie Trivet.
Aye.
Charles Montana. Charles Montana.
Mr. Von Cannon.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Carter.
Aye.
Timothy Holdren.
Aye.
Bobby Dees.
Aye.
Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Ray Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley. Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes.
All ayes, motion passed. Next item, Chairman.
Next one will be the Agriculture Committee. And there's two openings. Sonja Culler's job is up. Terry Hubbard and Buddy Farmer. Motion was made by Sonja Culler for Larry Navy to replace Buddy Farmer as the farm man. Second by Ross Garland, all ayes. Motion by Sonja Culler for Don Winters to replace Terry Hubbard as farm woman. Second by Ross Garland. Mr. Lewis voted no. Motion by Sonja Culler to appoint Randall Jenkins to replace Miss Culler as commission members. So I make a motion that we accept all three of these nominations.
Motion made by Mr. Trivett, second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll. All those in favor, respond with aye. Those opposed, no.
Rufus Peters.
Aye.
Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett, Nancy Brown. I'm sorry, Nancy. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan. Beth Pugh, Ronnie Trivet.
Aye.
Charles Von Cannon.
Aye.
Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Holdren.
Aye.
Bobby Dees.
Aye.
Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler. Scott Semley, Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, Chairman.
Next thing we have is Park and Rec Committee. We've had time to get some applications for this, and, so I'm gonna call them, there's 10 appointments, and I'm gonna call out the ones that the committee recommended. In the first district, nominating was Mr. William Birchfield. The second was a Mr. Anderson. Third district was Charles Dykes. The fourth district was Roy Smith. The fifth district was Kenneth Gooch. The sixth district was J.R. Campbell. And the seventh district was Charlie McNanelli. The eighth district was James Hughes. And then the mayor made appointment of Randall Jenkins as the ninth member from the commission. And I recommend that we accept all 10 of these on the Park and Rec.
Have a motion made by Mr. Trivett, second by Ms. Culler. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Steve Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Beth Pugh. Ronnie Trivett. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Morton. Ross Garland. Timothy Holder. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. Ron Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McLean. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff. All ayes.
All ayes, motion passes.
I appreciate you got down with you on there.
Mr. Chairman? I got a question about that. According to the statute, terms must be staggered where 2 members expire each year and then a decision on. So one will be one, 2 of them will be 1 year term.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's no problem. Go ahead, sir.
On Tyler Moore's deal, is that a 4-year term?
Yes, sir. It is. And the attorney and I were just discussing as far as the terms, we didn't make the designation between the members of this new Park and Rec. Those will have to be set up in designation as well. So we'll take the, I guess, unless someone has an objection, we'll take these and assign the designations as these are approved. Is there any objection per the statute that's required? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have a question. When I got up there, talking about the agriculture committee, and Mr. Von Cannon said he was on there to begin with.
Von Cannon is on there. We're not replacing Mr. Von Cannon.
It's these 3 that we replaced.
Yeah, the farm man, the farm woman, and the replacement for Commissioner Cullen. So, you know, everything's good, Mr. Von Cannon.
He just afraid I took him off.
Well, we wouldn't do that. Okay, with that, rules and bylaws, number 10, Mr. Jenkins.
Rules and bylaws has no new business.
No new business. Okay? With that, that should include all of our committees unless I've missed one. Is there anyone else that the chair failed to recognize? With that being said, we'll move on to the county attorney's report. Mr. Harden.
Okay, as far as the litigation update this month, I did appear in court this past month for 5 litter violation cases that have been pending and filed. Those were reset to occur in on April 14th. The reason being, we had a few owners who were actually out-of-state residents. Service was not accomplished. We have to do that by publication, and that takes more time. So those 5 cases were all continued to take place on April 14th. There was a new lawsuit filed this month that I received from an inmate against the former sheriff and several detention officers. That has been turned over to the county's insurance carrier, and assume if that complaint meets the criteria of the federal court and is allowed to proceed, that representation will be provided by the insurance carrier. I continue in the process of preparing the county delinquent tax sale, still on track to occur in April. As far as a general work update, attended various meetings and finalized all the documents this month along with Mayor Humphrey to finally complete the property acquisition phase of the SIA project, which is they're going to build a new road in the industrial park that's going to allow the truck traffic to reroute and come out through the controlled intersection there on Highway 91, which is going to be a big benefit to everyone, especially the industry out there. And that was finally accomplished. At least our part of it was finally accomplished this month after about, I think, 4 years or more in the process. Was able to resolve a contract issue for the highway department with waste management. We're still wrapping that up from my talk with Mr. Kalbach this evening, but I believe we've got that resolved. Multiple issues researched and opinions rendered as always, and I'm once again be glad to discuss that with anybody who has any questions. Some of the things were looked into feasibility of advertising on county property, looking into a farmer's market. I did some research for Judge Bowers regarding a specific DUI form he has to use in his court. We've looked into the requirements as far as the county maintaining a law library or legal library. Did some research for the Sheriff's Department in regard to a issuance of emergency license plate issue, and some contract review for the Sheriff's Department looking into some GPS tracking equipment. And as always, prepared and updated the resolution as presented here tonight. And without any questions, that's really all I have.
And I will say this, Attorney Harden was out on one of the days that the courthouse was closed, obtaining signatures on these deeds that was needed. So I really appreciate your effort in getting that done so that we're not holding up a T-bill. Mr. Von Camp.
I'd like to pose a question to the county attorney. Several times in the 4 years I've been here, 4.5 years, the committee has voted against something, an item, and yet the chairman would bring it back up to the full commission for a vote. It seems as though since it was defeated in committee, what's the legality of it being brought back to the full commission against the vote of the committee?
My understanding, sir, is if something is presented and voted down or does not pass through the committee, that it cannot be presented or voted on by the full commission. I guess if you're specifically referring to the budget amendment tonight that had one item excluded, the vote presented for the commission was to approve with the exclusion of that one item. So I don't believe, if that's what you're referring to, that we were representing an item tonight that was voted down in the budget committee. We were presenting a budget amendment which included many items that did pass, and that's the way the vote was structured. So if that answers your question, that's what I would say. Certainly if something is presented and voted down in committee, it wouldn't be presented to the full commission.
I didn't want a dissertation, I just wanted a yes or no.
I can't answer things that
Thank
quick.
you for your dissertation.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
With that, we'll go into commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments? Mr. Carroll.
I've got a couple things. I hope it's not the wrong time to do it. But someone, and I don't know who it was, said a few minutes ago that every office in the county last year at budget time cut their budget by 5%. And yet there was still a tax increase. if we cut budgets by 5%, still that's, have a tax increase of whatever it was, I mean, how does that work? I don't, you know, I'm new at this and I don't understand it, but I need to.
I think the person in this room that would be best to answer that would be Ms. Deloach. Ingrid, I'd like to call on you at this time, and can you make it clear that as to whether or not all office holders cut their budget 5% last year?
It was requested that all office holders and department heads cut their budgets by 5%. Several did oblige, some could not oblige, and we had explanations as to why that happened. One, for example, was the county attorney. We had cut his line item for legal services, which has nothing to do with attorney department, but we cut that line and couldn't cut it anymore because we didn't have enough to get through the end of the year. And that was one example. Another was juvenile detention services. We couldn't cut that one either because we already cut it too far. Also, the reason for the tax increase was for debt service. We have robbed debt service for several years and we continue to do that. There was an attempt to get it somewhat balanced last year. That's where the major increase came from. Even though there was reductions in budgets, there still had to be an increase to balance debt service. And sir, I believe that's why you experienced cuts and an increase at the same time.
Thank you very much. One last thing.
Yes, sir.
I saw on the news where that there was a county building burned down up in Virginia. If that were to happen here, God forbid, are we covered with backup?
We have insurance coverage, liability coverage. However, I don't know that there's any municipality anywhere that could be prepared to be able to conduct business immediately the next day.
What about records? I know that.
Records would be a problem. We're fortunate in this county that we have records that date to the late 1700s. Actually, we have some even before this was a county downstairs in the Register of Deeds. Van Buren County recently had a fire and they lost most of their records. That could happen here anytime. We've been fortunate. One part of this building's been here since the early 30s. It's something that we need to look at some point in time. We talked about an archives 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and could not get the support of the commission at that time to do it. But it's a legitimate point. These records need to be put in environments where they are controlled. We need to take these fragile documents that are 200 plus years old, you know, and preserve them, back them up, put them in a digital format, and put them in a area such that they're accessible to all citizens of this county, and we preserve them for future generations. It would be a terrible, horrendous loss. But no, we're not in a position at this point in time to take care of it. If there's a fire, we lose the records. No. And we wouldn't have a plan to move right into tomorrow. I just don't know anyone that would. It would be devastating. Anything else, sir? That's all. Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Goddard.
I have a question, sir. Why does our finance director sit in the back now instead of up front like she used to?
Well, you know, I would like for her to answer that. Ms. Deloach, if you would, please.
I'll be very honest with you, and we have the news media here. I got tired of seeing my picture on the front page of the paper for everything that we did. Regardless of if it was we awarded someone something, I got my picture on the paper. If we got a fight over something, I got my picture in the paper. I got tired of it, and there's nothing that says your finance director has to sit at the front of the room. So the finance director took the liberty upon herself to move herself in the back. And normally I don't speak 20 times during one meeting, but tonight's an exception to that rule. And I would prefer to stay back here, and hopefully Abby will keep my picture out of the paper.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that, because I'm certain that there's a few of them probably thought that the mayor says that you have to sit back there. And Lord knows, the mayor would never do that.
Look right here, she's here with the microphone, we can hear you.
You can hear me perfectly fine.
If there's a situation that arises, since she's expressed her position, that needs her to come front, I'm certain that she would be more than willing to come to the podium. It's not a problem. Any other? Mr. Hill?
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank you for recognizing this tonight as you have done. This was much better than last meeting, so I like to give props where they're due. I've got a couple of concerns, if you'll indulge me, that affect our district, mine and Ms. Brown's. One, and this is nothing for action other than, I'm addressing my colleagues here. Leverage the position of county commissioner if you can, and if you can get behind this, but you may be familiar with TWRA rate increases on the cost of a fishing license and hunting license. I've had an email that I've copied on here, and I've got packets for you guys if you want them, from a fishing guide out of North Carolina who is basically stating that there are about 25 of those guys, and there's two things in play here. The rate increase has already gone through. I was going to bring this up at the last meeting, we didn't get to, but as part of the rate increase, they've eliminated the one-day fishing license, and the increases are more stringent on out-of-state guys than they are on in-state guides. The economic impact of this, and down in the middle of the state, not so much, but on District 2, these 25, 26 guide services leave a little trail of money all the way through Roan Mountain into Hampton and up to the Holston and out to Watauga Lake and that kind of thing. They're estimating that it could be over $250,000 in lost revenue. This gentleman has expressed to me that this will be the last season that he's scheduling guide trips here because of the elimination of the one-day license opportunity and the rate increase. They do have guide trips scheduled throughout this summer season, but next season we won't have one. So if there's any way we could put a little pressure on them to perhaps reinstate a one-day fishing license. I realize they haven't had a raise there in like 15 years from what I'm told. But that might go a long way toward keeping these guys coming through here, buying cathead biscuits and Bob's and pig wings at the Highlander barbecue, gas and snacks and whatnot. And so that was item one. Item two, this Parks and Rec Commission that we've enacted or whatever, you stopped Mr. Ward and myself on the way out of the highway committee meeting and told me you guys are digging in, looking into this Tweetsie Trail expansion. And I want to throw my absolute 1,000,000% support of this effort behind this. I think there would be a huge sucking noise of revenue from both the North Carolina direction and the Tri-Cities direction if we can bridge the gap and make that thing whole all the way through the county. If you guys read the Johnson City Press, there was an article on the 21st, and I've got it cut and pasted in here, about how they're starting to look at continuing the Tweetsie Trail, and that Johnson City now is looking into extending the Tweetsie Trail, and they think it'd be a cakewalk basically to extend it to Hampton. Well, my information says that there's some low-hanging fruit. We own the bulk of what we need to do from Roan Mountain all the way to Hampton. I don't know where you guys stand on Johnson City owning a piece of the middle of Carter County, but hey, I'd like to see us take this initiative on and make it happen, make that a prescribed goal, because I believe that as Carter Countyans, we will better take care of the interest of our citizens than the folks in Johnson City would. That being said, I'd like to work hand in hand with them and make this thing happen. So
You're most welcome. Once we get this committee together, they have their organizational meeting. I'm certain that'll be one of the first projects they take on. Mr. Ken Googe is on this. He's very instrumental. Dan Reese and I, Gary Tysinger met in the fall. I've got a set of plans in my office now that was put together many, many years ago with the option of continuing that on into the county. However, there are some obstacles. Also, we have another gentleman on here that works with Doe River Gorge Ministries. So it looks like we've got a good group of people on board, and I'm certain they'll all want to take interest in this and do everything we can to get our arms around it. So any input that you have, Mr. Hill, I'm certain they would welcome.
Thank you. This would be a huge economic shot in the arm for a district that's really been last in line for quite a while for everything except for flood relief and such. And I can't stress it enough. I think this would be a killer project to put through. And anything I can do, I'm available. So there you go. Thank you for
The
that.
moment that we get this organizational meeting behind them, then I'll post the dates and times of those meetings once they establish, and then you'll all have an opportunity to attend and put your input into it, because this is an important committee. It's been very inactive over the last 2 years because of a number of things, and now it's been reformed, and hopefully these people get the decks running, and we can support them in that effort. Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Von Cannon.
I'd like to respond to the economic impact of the fishery. I live on near the Clemens Road access, and we do see 18 to 22 North Carolina float boats every weekend. And even in the last few days, as cold as it is, there have been some show up. There's no question that they spend money here. There's no question that the 8 miles of trophy trout stream brings them in. The only question I have is they can't read a speed limit sign. We put one, we had a 35-mile speed limit sign there. We put, because of children, the road department put 25, and that was right. Because there's one curve there that if you do more than 25 and you meet somebody, something's going to happen bad. But that's my problem. I get behind them occasionally, and I never saw one that would have made a speed limit sign. And I talked to them about it. And they, yeah, okay, type thing. But I don't know why they have to get, the fish are going to be there when they get there. Why do they have to speed and run over each other to get there? But they do. But I'm still for the fishery because it's an economic thing that we need. It's just another thing we need.
Commissioner Peters.
I can speak. I've had several people in the first district ask me about the status of Mr. Prophet. Now, he told me last month, this ain't something that I wouldn't say to him. Last month, he told me that he had moved out of our district, or was in the process of moving out of the district. So several people have asked me, what is the status? Where do we stand if, which in fact, I think it's true that he has moved out of the first district.
Josh, would you like to weigh in on this?
Well, from my research on this issue, if in fact he has officially changed his residence and is no longer in the first district, as of the moment that happened, is my understanding that his position is considered vacant. He's not, his vote wouldn't count, and it's incumbent upon the commission to replace him within 120 days. It's considered a vacancy. I don't know, it's at least what I know of the situation. There's some other extenuating circumstances. I haven't researched it in depth, but from what I have seen, it seems pretty cut and dry that that's the case.
Do we have proof that he has purchased and is legal?
He told me he had bought a house in Lynn Valley and he was moving and he had to be in it.
Well, with that, Mr. Harden, could you research and make recommendations to the commission next month?
Clerk.
While we're talking attendance, we may as well say it. We've got Beth DePue in our district that has been to very few meetings. So what would be the ruling on that? That's something to think about for the future because the people elected an individual to be here and the person hasn't been here.
Ms. Brown.
And we've got Mr. Meehan in our district that's out of town a lot. And the other thing was, in Mr. Prophet's case, it was out of his hands. He ran in good faith, did he not? And they condemned his house and took it. Did they?
Down in moving Lynn Valley. You can buy my house on the Congress.
His house, they told him quite some time, I won't take his house. And for Mr. Meehan, he goes out of town, he schedules his trips around these meetings. This is a meeting tonight, was a postponement, beyond weather, nobody's fault, it's just it got bad weather. But he schedules his trips.
He had arranged to be here last week.
But again, this night was not a schedule, when he said this.
Okay.
He had to be in Texas.
With that being said, county attorney will research the issue and report back next month with recommendations as to what can be done in either of the cases. Okay? Any other comments? Commissioner Ward.
The only thing I'd like to add to this is, I'm part of the finance management committee, and we did update our policy and procedure manual. I was wondering what's your status on getting everybody a copy of that, so we could all.
Mr. Loach, if you would, please.
I'll be very honest with you, the past 3 weeks, I have got nothing done, but fielding phone calls and trying to work on the new system. I had planned to have you, every commissioner, a new copy of that manual. I did not get it done. And that's totally my fault, nobody else to blame. Hopefully by next month, I'll have you a copy of that new updated policy and procedure manual. We didn't change anything as far as what the Financial Management Committee approved, but I did put all the changes that have been made over the past 4 years into a compiled digital copy where you can have it. It's all on the website. And Abby, I swear, you didn't take my picture.
Abby, if there's any way possible, we would like for her picture to be above the fold tomorrow's issue. If not, the following day, front and center. But
Hopefully I'll have that by next month and you'll have everything. I can email it to you if you want that. It is approximately 90 pages long, so it takes a little bit to print off. But for those of you that have email, I can email it immediately.
Commissioner Ward, also, once we get that, we'll upload it to the website, so it'll be there. The old manual is there now, so it's there for you to see 24/7. And also, thanks for mentioning that. Ms. Street, my administrative assistant for the last 4 years, has taken a new position with Northeast State. I wish her the best. She's done an excellent job. I was hopeful that we could have had this meeting last week. She would have been here. So please bear with the mayor and the mayor's office for the next couple of weeks. I have a replacement that will be here on Monday. Of course, it will take us a little while to develop the relationship with each and every one of you. We want to maintain a good working relationship and assist each and every one of you in every way possible. So I wish her the best. I know she'll do an excellent job for Northeast, and it's just our loss. So any other comments? I hear a motion adjourned. Do I hear a second? All in favor? Opposed?